Dwarves. Dwarves in space. Everyone likes dwarves. If you haven't heard of Deep Rock Galactic, it's a game where shooting evil space bugs, mining minerals, and trying not to explode your teammates are the core tasks. But why would I ever want to play a game with a bunch of demi-humans crammed into a 5-foot wide drop pod? I can practically smell the body odor from here. Well, if you've ever enjoyed the sadistic pleasure gained from squashing bugs, the satisfying noise of crystals clinking in your bag, or a similar sadistic pleasure gained from accidentally shooting your teammates, Deep Rock Galactic might just be the game for you. Whoa, 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 what's this? A montage already? Hold it, hold on. Last time we had about 5 of those in the entire video. Maybe we should just tone things down this time? You know, save the best for last and all that? How about actually getting onto the meat of the video first? Recently-ish, Deep Rock Galactic introduced Season 1, Rival Incursion, a new update centered around a new faction introduced to the game, the Rivals. I don't know, they're just called the Rivals. These riveting robo-bros largely featured in a new mission type, in which your body odor-drenched team of demi-humans tackled a gigantic pyramid, guarding valuable data on the Rivals' siege on Hox's 4, the planet in which the events of the game take place. Aside from this, the Rival Incursion update also included 4 new primary weapons, one for each of the 4 classes, and a Battle Pass-inspired system called the Performance Pass, a 100% free way for players to earn extra cosmetics and crafting ingredients. Rival Incursion was a pretty awesome update. The new mission kicks absolute ass and is still so much fun to play. The 4 new weapons are also quite great, giving each class an additional option in their arsenal of bug-beating tools. This video will talk about the newly released Season 2, Rival Escalation, which acts as a sort of continuance of Season 1, adding some new content to do with the Rivals, a new Performance Pass, and 4 new secondary weapons. Season 2 isn't as big as Season 1, but it still has a ton of stuff to do and plenty of new things to mess around with. Now, I kind of have to address the elephant in the room. Obviously, I didn't cover Season 1 on my channel, so there is a bit of a gap in my coverage. If you want to read up on Season 1, there are some links to helpful resources on the screen and in the pinned comment. But anyway, onto the actual video, it's time to talk Season 2. Hold that thought. I'm getting a call from someone called Mission Control. Who names their baby that? What? Oh, he wants to be put on? Apparently it's something important. I don't know, man. What's up with these people?
Dwarves, listen up. It's me, your favorite Mission Control guy. Definitely a dwarf and 100% free of TVs attached to heads. Management is asking me to tell you that this video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, specifically regarding the Doom Tower. I know you've all been looking for something to do while you wait for the drop pod to land, so keep your ears peeled. If you want to climb to the top of the Doom Tower, you'll need an army of champions first. It won't be easy, but then again, you're dwarves, are you not? Some of the Doom Tower bosses need specific strategies to be beat, so hopefully for you, you haven't had too many oily apes beforehand. Management also tells me that there's an entirely new event for the summer solstice called the Path of Light, including such rewards as skins for the Trunda Guilt Mallet. Just one thing more, you boys better think fast, because there's currently a special event, the Deliana Chase, wherein you can get your grubby mitts on a brand new legendary champion, just by logging in for 7 days. Management also says, if you click the link in the description or scan this code, you'll receive a series of unique bonuses. A free epic champion, Tyrell, 200k silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard await you, should you follow the link. Furthermore, you can enter the promo code MyDeliana to get enough XP brews to max out Deliana's level. That's all from this announcement, folks. Seems a pretty good offer if you ask me. Now, get back to work.
He hung up. No idea what that was all about. Sorry. Come to think of it, how did this guy even get my number? Dang telemarketers and data breaches. Anyway, what was I saying? First things first, let's chat down the eponymous Rivals and how they have indeed escalated. Firstly is a new warning called Rival Presence. Warnings are basically modifiers that can randomly appear on missions, adding a new hazard to watch out for in addition to the normal stuff. Rival Presence is a fairly straightforward warning, enabling the appearance of rival bots, mostly patrollers and shredder drones, but also the occasional number of turrets. A new enemy structure will also spawn alongside the turrets called the Turret Controller. Interacting with it initiates a new hacking minigame in which players must mark both ends of a colored wire, and then click the thingy when the... Look, it makes more sense if you just play the game. Snip away all the wires, to kill every remaining turret on the map. Attempting to hack the turret controller is quite a risky endeavour, although you can use your shield as a gunner or dig underneath it as a driller to have a safer crack. This new warning means that rivals can now appear in any mission type, almost as though they're escalating their siege on the dwarf-controlled Hoxus. But beware, because even in regular missions, free from certain warnings, far away from gigantic pyramids, and usually when it seems completely safe, a new foe hides in the shadows. It strikes when you get separated from your team. Maybe there was a small gold vein the rest of your fellow dwarves missed, perhaps some valuable beer ingredients, or maybe you thought you saw the shimmering nodes indicative of a buried bitter gem. No matter the reason, you let yourself get a bit too detached from your gang. You thought you heard the sounds of a distressed dwarf calling for help. Your first instinct was, of course, to aid your incapacitated teammate, but, you think, it always helps to be skeptical, what with those pesky rivals around. Maybe you push your doubts aside and turn the corner anyway, eager to get your teammate back on his feet. Maybe you think twice, not recalling any of your teammates having actually gone this way. And then bam! It's too late. You've been grabbed by a giant pair of robotic pincers, and the longer their grip is held, the tighter it gets. You can feel the air force out of your lungs. Was that the sound of a rib cracking? You're worried you won't make it back to the space rig, and then... I am Nemesis. The Nemesis is the latest big bad added to DRG. It can randomly appear in any mission type, regardless of if it has a rival theme in any way. I love this way of implementing it. Random rare encounters are part of what makes DRG so much fun. There's always that air of uncertainty in a mission. Even if things are going well, there's always those lingering thoughts in the back of your mind. What if a bulk detonator rocks up to our little funky bunker and blows us all to smithereens? What if a dreadnought shows up just as half the team goes down and dices up the other half into neat little cubes? Most of the time, encounters like this don't happen. The bulk det shows up where it can safely be shot and killed from afar. The dreadnought appears towards the end of a mission, by which time simply escaping it is possible. But the possibility of catastrophe, even for skilled players, is omnipresent. And the Nemesis is another excellent addition into the ever-growing list of things that can go terribly, horribly wrong. The fact that this thing has a one-hit kill perfectly adds to this. It encourages playing safe and rewards good positioning. Unless you're playing driller, in which case, too bad, I guess. The Nemesis truly feels like an equal foe. If it corners you, it can easily juggle your teammates and whittle you down as a team. Counter it by leading it to a wide open space, and it's as good as scrap. The first of the 4 new weapons that this update adds is the Arms Core Coil Gun. Since Gunner is my highest level class, I'm going to talk about the Coil Gun first, to minimize the chances of revealing that I have no idea what I'm talking about, and am actually a fraud who reads off the wiki. The Coil Gun is Gunner's third secondary weapon. Contrary to the brute force single target damage of the Bulldog Revolver, or the sparing stopping power of the Burt, the Coil Gun only does lots of damage when it's fully charged, which is a costly expenditure when it comes to conserving ammo. However, it leaves behind a damaging trail of electricity, which can be used to make traps and damage hordes of enemies at once. Uniquely, it can also pierce through terrain for a limited distance, which can be handy in shooting marked enemies through walls or from behind cover, as well as enabling some interesting strategies. Overall, the Coil Gun is pretty damn cool. It's interesting to have a weapon in Gunner's arsenal that's almost uncharacteristically not based on immediate damage per second, and instead damage over time. This also allows for you to switch out to your primary and shoot your enemies as they are racked by magnetic residue. Pretty shocking. As for overclocks, well, writing about OCs in this game is difficult, since they're pretty much time-locked behind weekly assignments and deep dives, so there's no way for me to feasibly get all the new ones and try them out, unless I waited literally about 3 months. So, this segment is in the hands of fate, you might say. Some overclocks that I did get for the Coil Gun that I think are cool are the Mole. This overclock capitalizes on the Coil Gun's ability to pierce through terrain. If a shot pierces some rock and manages to hit an enemy, it increases damage by a lot. The Mole is a ton of fun to play around with. Those rare times that you can get a shot off through a wall are immensely satisfying. Sadly, in multiplayer scenarios, it falls off a lot, since all the time you spend dancing around a chunk of terrain, trying to line up the perfect shot, is time that your teammates are killing everything in the room. Triple Tech Chambers. This OC allows you to fire off excess energy after a charged shot up to 2 times. The extra shots do reduce damage and don't pierce, but still make a damaging field. Combined with the electric trail upgrade in the final tier, turns the Coil Gun into a total powerhouse at the cost of quickly exhausting its battery. The Colette Wave Cooker is the driller's new sidearm added in Rival Escalation. The Wave Cooker is probably the weirdest out of the four in terms of theming. It's a portable, weaponized microwave. This weapon vomits forth waves of lethal radiation as opposed to bullets or plasma balls, violently cooking any enemy into an improvised glyphid casserole. While brutal, it is substantially lacking in damage compared to the Sabata and the EPC. However, it does come with a boatload of utility instead, as well as being a hit scan beam with infinite range. Its third tier of upgrades allows you to choose between guaranteed slowdown on enemies, or a unique ability that spreads temperature effects to nearby enemies. Use this to save some ammo on your cryo cannon or crisper. Its final upgrade tier contains 3 even more polarizing options. Boil Array causes enemies killed by the cooker to sometimes explode. Pretty straightforward and pretty devastating. Your casseroles might be a bit more soup-like though. The final 2 options are even more special. Contagion Transmitter increases damage dealt to poison targets, also having a chance to apply neurotoxin and spread it to nearby targets, making for a great synergy with the newly buffed Corrosive Sludge Pump. The final upgrade is Exothermic Reactor, which will automatically cause a temperature shock proc to anything that is burning or freezing. Remember how I said the cooker was lacking in direct damage? Well, emphasis on direct damage only. With the flamethrower or cryo cannon, you can melt Praetorians and oppressors like no one's business. Using an overclock like sticky flames for the crisper allows you to repeatedly T-shock enemies as they sit in the residual flames. Absolutely brutal. As for overclocks, my favourite is easily blistering necrosis. This will cause little weak points to appear on enemies as they are shot with a gun. Shoot them to deal a chunk of flat damage. This OC is excellent at melting large targets, which seems to be the Wave Cooker's ongoing theme. The Nishunka Bolt Shark is the most complex and multifaceted out of the new weapons. In a similar fashion to the previous 2, it lacks in damage compared to the Scout's other secondaries, the brute stopping power of the Sornoff and the burst damage of the Zukovs. Instead, while the crossbow still deals good damage on hitting squishy soft spots, its main power lies, yet again, in utility. In the first upgrade tier, you're able to choose between a small selection of special bolts that are carried alongside your regular shots. These have a range of effects, including pheromone bolts that can cause infliction of the newly buffed pheromone status, causing familial bugs to tear each other to shreds, explosive bolts, which marks enemies to blow up on death, inevitably taking a bunch more bugs with them, or a special electric bolt which can cause a damaging chain between 2 shots. These abilities are all pretty cool and give Scout an extra bit of utility in combat. Despite its complexity, there isn't much for me to say regarding this weapon. It's pretty self-explanatory, so why not get out there and hunt some big game yourself? The addition of an alternate firing mode is really cool. It's super neat to see more dynamic weapon designs like this. The level of customizability here is immense, making the Bolt Shark truly feel like a killing machine that's personalized for the tasteful dwarf. While this weapon is really cool, I don't really feel like I get as much use out of it as I do with the twin SMGs or the boomstick. Maybe this is just because I haven't gotten used to swapping arrows optimally or haven't received many overclocks, but to me it feels like the utility doesn't always justify the loss in damage. The Shard Diffractor is the 4th and final secondary weapon added, another addition to the Engineer's arsenal. This weapon is easily the most straightforward out of the 4, despite its complex appearance. TLDR, Big Laser Ghost. There are a few things more satisfying than incinerating small groups of bugs at once, or single groups of large ones, whatever takes your fancy. Instead of a conventional magazine, the diffractor has a battery that acts almost as a reverse overheat mechanic. Firing the gun will drain the battery, and ceasing fire will cause it to slowly refill. There's also a short spin-up time before the beam can be fired. The diffractor's extremely long range is one of its main appeals, giving the Engineer an easy way of dispatching sneaky menaces or acid spitters. When compared to Engie's other secondaries, the Shard Diffractor is a good competitor. Its long range and strong area damage, combined with a considerable ammo pool, makes it give the PGL and Breach Cutter a run for their money. That's about it. This weapon is otherwise pretty self-explanatory, but in the best possible way, of course. That concludes the 4 new weapons that Rival Escalation added to the game. All of them have been a blast to play around with. There are definitely some interesting overclocks to go with them as well. The theme of the weapons not being focused on direct damage output, but instead on utility or alternative damage is a great idea. It makes them feel much more unique and more likely to be used by players. Except for the Shard Diffractor, that thing is just a potent force of destruction.
Orders from management. Stop dancing and get to it.
The final thing added in Season 2 is the second Performance Pass. While generally not gameplay related, the PP adds a way to get a crap ton new cosmetics, crafting materials, weapon frameworks, paint jobs for various things, and so on and so forth. It's a pretty standard battle pass system. Playing the game nets you performance points and script, which allows you to progress through the levels and the cosmetic tree. Script can also be obtained from season challenges and by completing any season events. All season events from Rival Incursion are still present, including the data station hack and the occasional prospector encounter. However, a new way to earn some extra data cells is now present in the missions. The antenna nodes event can randomly be encountered. Breaking the 3 knobbly bits on the outside of the central router will start a self-destruct sequence. However, you can hack the correct data umbrella in order to abort the sequence and save some of that tasty data for yourself. Periodically, one of the nodes will become active, emitting a blue light and lighting out the wire that leads to it, and it must be hacked before the time runs out and the next node becomes available. Hack the requisite amount and the data is yours. I'm quite the fan of this event. It's the right amount of stressful and what the hell is going on full. You really have to communicate well with your team, defend them when they're hacking a node, and be skillful at the hacking minigame above all else. Things get especially interesting if some of the antenna nodes are split off from the rest, requiring your team to split up, like the start of some low-budget horror movie. Good stuff. As for the new cosmetics added, the new pickaxe is pretty cool. Very retro future, very nice. The new weapon framework set is good in places. I think it looks the best on small arms, like the gunner's secondaries. On larger weapons, it sometimes barely changes anything aside from adding 3 lights and a couple handles. It's a pretty subtle skin theme with no majorly obvious themings or styles, but I kinda like that. Regarding some of the other cosmetics, the Salvador is hilarious, the Tam O'Shanter is obligatory, Barbaric Bosco is badass, but not as bubonic as Barrel Bosco, and the Barrister is... Double. Speaking of cosmetics, should you get knocked down at the end of a mission, you'll wake up in a hospital gown. However, if you don't interact with any employee terminals, you can actually wear this get up to your next mission. Questionable, but hilarious. Finally, the best feature this update adds, and by extension in the entire game, is the newly granted ability to yell at your teammates by pinging them with a laser pointer. At the end of the day, there's no better way to pass the time than by incessantly annoying your teammates.
You think maybe he's compensating for something?
That's about everything that Season 2 Rival Escalation added to Deep Rock Galactic. Like I've said before, if you like games that have tons of fun build options, funny voice lines, and a great soundtrack, Shallowstone Planetary might just be the spacefaring dwarf simulator for you. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any suggestions on new games I should cover, topics about the games I've already covered, or feedback about anything else including this video, please feel free to do so. I've been having fun making videos on other games. I guess you could say that I'm undergoing a bit of an experimental phase regarding my channel. At the moment I'm just trying some things out and seeing what sticks, I suppose. Let me know what you think. Anyway, cheers, and I guess I'll see you next time.